There is a reason your heart has felt unusually alert lately, a reason you keep sensing that something is shifting beneath the surface, even when nothing around you appears different. What you have been waiting for has not been forgotten. What you have prayed about in silence has not drifted unheard into the air. And though the answer has not yet arrived in the form you expected, movement has already begun where your eyes cannot yet see. Someone is thinking of you more often than you realize. Not casually. Not for a passing moment. But in the quiet spaces of their day, when distractions fade, when conversations end, when the world becomes still enough for truth to rise. Your name has become difficult for them to ignore. Your presence lingers in their thoughts longer than they intended. And what they once tried to suppress, what they once convinced themselves to delay, is no longer staying buried. Because feelings have a way of returning when they are real. And what is real cannot remain hidden forever. You may have wondered if they forgot. You may have questioned whether the silence meant indifference, whether distance meant disinterest, whether the delay was your answer. But hear this carefully, silence is not always absence. Sometimes silence is the sound of someone gathering courage. Sometimes distance is what happens when a heart is trying to understand emotions it can no longer deny. Do not mistake their hesitation for lack of feeling. Some people step back not because they do not care, but because they care so deeply that what they feel unsettles them. And this is where everything begins to change. Because the person tied to your heart has entered a season of realization. Quiet realization, the kind that arrives unexpectedly in ordinary moments. In the middle of a crowded room, they think of your laugh. During a simple conversation, someone mentions something that reminds them of you. In the late hours of night, when honesty becomes harder to avoid, they admit to themselves what they have been resisting. You matter to them more than they planned. More than they expected. More than they know how to explain. And when a person reaches that point, when emotions stop being easy to dismiss, action begins to form. Slowly at first. Internally. Invisible to everyone else. But make no mistake, movement has started. Even now, they are replaying old memories in their mind. They are revisiting words left unsaid, moments they wish had gone differently, opportunities they should have taken when fear held them back. There is a growing awareness inside them that waiting longer may cost them something precious. And that awareness changes people. It makes them restless. It makes them brave. It makes them consider doing what once felt impossible. You may feel this in subtle ways. A strange pull in your spirit. A random thought of them appearing out of nowhere. Their energy entering your mind when you were not trying to think of them. That is not your imagination. Sometimes hearts begin speaking long before mouths do. Something important is waiting for you. Because while you have been focused on healing, rebuilding, growing stronger, they have been watching from a distance, noticing the person you have become. They see your strength now. They see the way you carry yourself differently. They see the quiet confidence you built after the pain. And somewhere deep inside them, a realization has emerged. If they do not move soon, they may lose the chance entirely. That thought has been sitting heavily on them. Heavier than they admit. And the truth is, the message you have been waiting for may come in a form you least expect. Not perfectly polished. Not dramatic. Not exactly the way fantasy imagined it. But real. Honest. Vulnerable. Perhaps late at night. Perhaps in an ordinary moment that suddenly becomes unforgettable. Perhaps when you have finally begun to release expectation, and that is when it arrives. Because life often delivers long-awaited things when your heart has stopped chasing them. Stay with this. Their move is not being driven by impulse alone. It is being shaped by clarity. By the realization that certain connections are too rare to ignore. By the awareness that not everyone leaves an imprint this deep. Not everyone alters your thoughts. Not everyone remains in your spirit long after the moment has passed. You did that. Without even knowing it fully, you became unforgettable to them. And now they are standing at the edge of a decision. A decision between staying silent and risking regret, or reaching out and risking vulnerability. That tension has been growing. You may think their confidence is greater than it is. You may imagine they know exactly what to say, exactly how to approach you, exactly how to act. But beneath the surface, they are nervous. They are uncertain. They are wondering if too much time has passed. They are questioning whether your heart is still open. They are afraid the door they once hesitated to walk through may now be closed. And yet, despite the fear, they keep feeling pulled back toward you. Because some connections do not fade simply because time passes. Some bonds become louder in silence. Stronger in distance. Clearer in separation. That is what is happening here. Do not skip this part, because many misunderstand the waiting season. They think waiting means nothing is happening. They think delay means denial. But often the waiting season is when unseen things are aligning, when emotions are deepening, when people are becoming ready for what they once were not prepared to handle. Had this arrived earlier, perhaps it would not have lasted. Had they spoken sooner, perhaps they would not have spoken from truth. But now, something in them has matured. Something in them has settled. And what they are preparing to say will carry more honesty than anything they could have offered before. Still, the move they make may begin subtly. A message that seems simple on the surface. A small check-in. A casual reason to reconnect. A sentence that looks ordinary to everyone else, but to you, it will feel different. Because beneath the words, you will sense what they are truly trying to say but are still building the courage to express. Listen closely when it happens. Because often the deepest feelings arrive disguised as the simplest words. Hey. I was thinking about you. How have you been lately? I don't know why, but I felt like reaching out. Words like these may seem small. But behind them lives a storm of emotion. Behind them lies hesitation overcome. Behind them lies a heart finally deciding that silence hurts more than vulnerability. And when that moment comes, do not rush to judge the form of the message. Pay attention instead to the courage it took for them to send it at all. Because for some people, one text can hold weeks of internal battle. One message can represent countless nights of overthinking. One simple reach out can mean they finally stopped running from what they feel. There is more beneath the surface than you know. What makes this moment powerful is not merely that they may contact you, it is who they are becoming in order to do it. Growth is happening inside them. Reflection is changing them. Regret has taught them. Time has sharpened their understanding. They are no longer looking at this connection the way they once did. They understand your value now. Not in theory. Not casually. But deeply. And when someone finally understands the value of what they almost lost, they approach differently. They speak differently. They move differently. That is why this next chapter will not feel like the past. It may begin softly, but it carries different energy. There will be sincerity where there was once confusion. Effort where there was once hesitation. Intent where there was once uncertainty. But before any of that fully unfolds, there is something you must understand. The waiting has changed you too. You are not the same person who first longed for this. You have grown stronger in the quiet. You have become wiser through disappointment. You have learned how to survive uncertainty. And because of that, when this message arrives, you will receive it with different eyes. You will no longer respond from desperation. You will no longer settle for half-hearted energy. You will no longer confuse inconsistency with affection. No, now you recognize your worth. And that changes everything. Because the version of you who receives this next chapter is not the version who began the story. You have evolved. Which means this connection can only continue if it rises to meet who you are now. That is part of why the timing matters. Not just because they needed to become ready, but because you did too. There is something beautiful about that, isn't there? Two people changing in separate places. Being shaped in silence. Prepared through distance. Only to arrive at the same realization at nearly the same time. That is why your spirit has been restless. That is why your intuition has been whispering. That is why your heart keeps sensing that something is near. Because it is. Very near. And still, do not force it. Do not chase what is already moving toward you. Do not panic in the quiet before arrival. Do not assume delay means disappearance. Some things take longer because they matter more. Some messages arrive late because they had to pass through transformation before they could be spoken honestly. And what is approaching you now has been forming for longer than you know. The confession. The truth. The reach out. The vulnerability. It has all been building quietly behind the scenes. Even now, there are words being rehearsed in their mind. Scenarios being imagined. Messages typed and deleted. Openers considered and reconsidered. Because they want this to be right. Because when someone truly cares, they think carefully before risking their heart. So if you have been feeling like something is in the air, if your spirit has been unusually sensitive, if your heart has felt the strange mixture of peace and anticipation, trust that feeling. Not because every hope guarantees an outcome, but because sometimes your soul recognizes movement before your eyes do. And right now, movement is happening. The silence is nearing its end. The hesitation is wearing thin. The emotions are becoming too strong to ignore. And soon the distance between thought and action will collapse. Soon what has only existed in their heart will begin to enter your reality. Soon the words you wondered if you would ever hear may finally begin to form. But what they say first, and what they truly mean behind those words, is something deeper than you expect. And when it comes, you will understand why the wait had to happen exactly this way. Because the message is only the beginning. The real revelation starts after they send it. And when that message finally appears, when your screen lights up, or your phone vibrates, or their name suddenly returns to your world after what felt like endless silence, The moment may seem small from the outside. To everyone else, it may look like nothing more than a simple conversation beginning. But you will feel it instantly. This is not ordinary. This carries weight. This carries history. This carries everything that was never fully spoken between you. Because some messages do not arrive as words alone, they arrive carrying energy. You will sense it in the hesitation between their sentences. You will hear it in the careful way they choose their words. You will notice how they begin lightly, almost cautiously, as if testing whether the door to your heart is still open. But beneath that surface calm is something much deeper, emotion they can no longer pretend is not there. They may not reveal everything immediately. In fact, they likely won't. Because when someone has held feelings in for a long time, truth rarely pours out all at once. It comes in layers. Piece by piece. Little by little. First through casual conversation. Then through subtle vulnerability, then through confessions hidden between ordinary words. Listen closely when they speak. Not just to what they say, but to what they are trying to say. Because there will be moments where their words stop just short of the full truth. Moments where they almost confess everything, then pull back. Moments where emotion slips through the cracks before they can hide it again. That is because opening the heart after silence is never simple. Especially when the feelings are real. They have imagined this moment more times than you know. They have wondered how you would respond, whether you would welcome them, whether too much time has passed, whether someone else has taken the place they once hoped to hold. Their courage may bring them to your inbox, but vulnerability will still make their hands tremble beneath the surface. And perhaps what surprises you most is this. They may seem softer than before. More thoughtful. More intentional. More emotionally honest. Because distance has humbled them. Silence has taught them. Missing you has clarified what your presence truly meant. There are lessons only absence can teach. And they have learned them. Stay till the end, because the most important part of this connection is not simply that they are returning, it is how they are returning. Not with games. Not with confusion. Not with half-interest and mixed signals. But with a sincerity that can only come from someone who has spent too much time realizing what they should have said sooner. You may hear them speak about regret. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in subtle admissions. I should have reached out earlier. I thought about this more than you know. I never really stopped wondering about you. Words like these may appear simple. But to the heart that has waited, they will feel like thunder. Because behind every sentence is a hidden confession, they missed you. They thought of you. They never fully let go. And still, even as their truth begins to surface, something inside you will remain cautious. That caution is wisdom. Because your heart has changed. You have learned not to be moved by words alone. You have learned that genuine feelings reveal themselves through consistency, through presence. Through effort sustained over time. So while your heart may race, while old emotions may rise, while part of you may want to run toward the hope of it all, you will stay grounded. And that groundedness will make them respect you even more. Because they will realize they are not reconnecting with the same version of you they once knew. They are reconnecting with someone stronger. Someone deeper. Someone who has learned how to love without losing themselves. That realization may shake them in ways they do not show immediately. Because suddenly this is no longer just about confessing feelings. It becomes about proving they are worthy of your openness. And for the first time, they may begin pursuing you with a seriousness they never had before. Watch carefully. Notice the difference between curiosity and commitment. Notice whether their energy matches their words. Notice whether they continue showing up after the excitement of reconnection settles. Because if this connection is as meaningful as it appears, they will not disappear again after opening the door. No. They will stay. They will make effort. They will create clarity. Because when someone truly fears losing what matters to them, they stop acting carelessly. Something powerful is unfolding here. Not merely romance, but recognition. Two hearts meeting again with clearer vision than before. Two people seeing each other not through fantasy, but through truth. And truth is where real connection begins. You may discover that during their silence, they were fighting battles you never saw. Internal doubts. Old wounds. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of rejection. Fear of not being enough for the kind of connection they felt with you. Sometimes people delay love not because they do not want it, but because they are terrified of mishandling something precious. And perhaps that was their story. Perhaps they stepped back not because the feeling lacked depth, but because it had too much. Some people know how to handle casual affection. Few know what to do when something feels life-altering. You did not feel ordinary to them. That is part of why this took time. You unsettled something in them. You awakened something in them. You forced them to confront emotions deeper than convenience. And now, after all this internal resistance, they are finally leaning toward what their heart has known for longer than they admitted. Toward you. Still, understand this clearly. The message itself is not the destination. It is the doorway. What happens after matters more. Because the real question is not whether they reach out. The real question is whether both of you are ready for what comes next once truth is finally spoken. Because once honesty enters a connection, nothing remains casual. No more pretending. No more wondering. No more hiding behind ambiguity. Once the truth is acknowledged, the relationship must either deepen or dissolve. And they know that. That is why they hesitated. That is why this took time. Because reaching out is not just a text for them. It is the beginning of a turning point. A risk. A confession. A crossing from uncertainty into possibility. And somewhere deep inside, they are hoping you still feel what they feel. They are hoping the spark they carry was not theirs alone. They are hoping your silence did not mean forgetting. They are hoping your heart still remembers what theirs never released. And if it does, if your heart still responds when their name appears, if your spirit still softens when they speak sincerely, if the connection still feels alive beneath everything time has changed, then what follows may become more meaningful than anything either of you imagined before. Because second beginnings often carry a depth first beginnings cannot. Why? Because innocence may start a connection, but awareness transforms it. This time there is understanding. This time there is reflection. This time there is appreciation born from distance. And appreciation changes how people love. They do not take lightly what they nearly lost. They do not ignore what absence taught them to value. They hold it differently. They protect it differently. They pursue it differently. That may be what you are about to witness. A version of them you have not yet seen. More open. More certain. More ready. But even then, let things unfold naturally. Do not rush the pace. Do not force certainty too quickly. Let the truth reveal itself over time. Let consistency prove what words begin. Let actions confirm what emotions suggest. Because what is real does not fear being tested by time. And if this connection is meant to deepen, it will not collapse under patience. It will strengthen. It will clarify. It will become undeniable. So when they come, receive the moment with open eyes and a steady heart. Feel the beauty of it. But remain rooted in your worth. Let them meet you where you now stand. Let them rise to the level of love they are asking to receive. Because the waiting did not merely prepare them. It prepared you to discern. And that discernment will protect what your heart builds next. The truth is, their message is not random. It is the result of countless hidden moments that led them here. Moments of missing you. Moments of reflection. Moments of regret. Moments of realization. Moments where they finally admitted that no distraction, no time, no distance had erased what they felt. And once a heart reaches that level of honesty, silence becomes impossible to maintain. So yes, the message is near. The move is real. The energy you have been sensing is not without reason. But what follows after that first contact? The deeper confession. The unexpected honesty. The revelation of just how long they have felt this. That part is still coming. And when they finally tell you what they were too afraid to admit before, you may realize this was never just a crush. Never just curiosity. Never just fleeting attraction. It was something far deeper. Something that frightened them because of how much it mattered. And when that truth leaves their lips, everything between you may change. And when that truth is finally spoken, when the walls they built around their heart begin to fall and the words they once feared become impossible to hold back, you may find yourself standing in a moment that feels strangely familiar, as if part of your soul always knew this day would come. Because some confessions do not shock the heart. They confirm what the heart quietly sensed all along. They may look at you, whether through words on a screen, through a voice trembling on a call, or in the silence between breaths when honesty becomes unavoidable, and reveal what they have carried in secret for far longer than you knew. Not just that they missed you. Not just that they thought of you. But that no matter how far they tried to move forward, something in them kept returning to you. Again. And again. And again. Because real connection has a way of haunting the heart until it is acknowledged. They may tell you that they compared others to you without meaning to. That certain songs reminded them of you. That certain places felt incomplete because they wished you had been there. That no matter how much life continued moving around them, a quiet part of them remained paused in the place where your connection was left unfinished. And hearing that may stir something powerful in you. Not because you needed validation. but because there is something deeply moving about discovering that the connection meant as much to them as it did to you. For so long, you may have wondered if you imagined it. If you felt more than they did. If the depth you sensed was one-sided. If your heart had created meaning where none existed. But now, the truth stands in front of you. And the truth is this. They felt it too. They always felt it too. They were simply slower to understand it. Slower to trust it. Slower to become brave enough to speak it. Do not skip this moment in your heart. Because this is where many people make a mistake. They hear the confession and instantly rush into fantasy, into imagining the future before the present has had time to breathe. But what makes this connection beautiful is not merely the emotion behind it, it is the opportunity now placed before both of you. An opportunity to build something real. Not based on longing alone. Not based on chemistry alone. But based on truth, timing, maturity, and mutual choice. Because feelings may ignite connection. But intentionality sustains it. That is why what comes next matters so much. After the confession. After the honesty. After the emotional release of everything left unsaid. There will be a quieter phase. A deeper phase. The phase where both of you begin learning whether this bond can live not only in emotion, but in reality. And strangely enough, that may be even more beautiful than the confession itself. Because fantasy is easy. Real love is built in ordinary moments. In consistent communication. In mutual effort. In choosing each other not once, but repeatedly. In showing up when the excitement settles and life becomes practical again. That is the chapter now approaching. They are not just reaching out to revisit old feelings. They are reaching out because part of them wants to explore what this could become if given a real chance. A true chance. Not half-hearted. Not rushed. Not undefined. A chance where both hearts stop pretending not to care. And if they are serious, as their energy suggests, they will begin making that clear not merely through emotional words, but through intentional presence. They will check in without needing excuses. They will create space for conversation. They will make you feel chosen, not guessed at. They will remove confusion where confusion once lived. Because when someone truly decides they do not want to lose you, clarity replaces ambiguity. And perhaps the most healing part of all this will not be their confession. It will be watching them become consistent in ways they never were before. Watching them match energy. Watching them show up. Watching them do what their old self may not have been ready to do. That is when you will know this is real. Not because they said beautiful things, but because their actions begin reflecting transformed intention. Still, remain aware of this truth. The return of someone meaningful is not automatically the fulfillment of destiny. It is an invitation. An invitation to discern. An invitation to observe. An invitation to discover whether what once existed can now evolve into something worthy of your future. And you have every right to take your time with that. You have every right to let trust rebuild naturally. You have every right to allow consistency, not chemistry, to determine what comes next. Because your heart is no longer available for temporary emotion. It is available for something genuine. And if they truly understand your worth now, they will respect your pace. They will honor your caution. They will prove their sincerity through patience. That, perhaps, is the hidden beauty in all of this. The person who once hesitated may now be the one willing to wait. The person who once stayed silent may now be the one choosing honesty. The person who once feared vulnerability may now be the one risking everything to tell you how deeply they care. That kind of transformation does not happen lightly. It happens when feelings become impossible to deny. It happens when someone realizes that life keeps moving, and some opportunities do not return forever. That realization has awakened something in them. And that awakening brought them back to you. So if your heart has been sensing change, if your spirit has felt anticipation rising for reasons you could not explain, if your intuition has whispered that silence was ending, you were not wrong. You were feeling the shift before it became visible. Now the moment approaches where uncertainty turns into clarity, where wondering turns into knowing, where hidden feelings become spoken truth. And once that happens, the question will no longer be whether they care. The question will become whether both of you are ready to build what those feelings deserve. Because the most meaningful love stories are not built on emotion alone. They are built when two people finally become ready at the same time. That may be what this has all been leading toward. Not just reunion, but readiness. Not just emotion, but alignment. Not just a message, but the beginning of something that finally has the maturity to last. And when you look back on this waiting season one day, you may realize the silence was not empty after all. It was preparation. Preparation for them to grow. Preparation for you to heal. Preparation for timing to align what emotion alone could not force. So breathe deeply when the message comes. Read slowly. Listen carefully. Feel fully. But remain wise. Because what is beginning here carries the potential to become beautiful, if nurtured with honesty, patience, and truth. Their move is not random. Their message is not casual. Their confession is not impulsive. It is the result of a heart that has finally accepted what it can no longer run from. That you matter to them in a way they never expected. In a way they tried to ignore. In a way that has now become impossible to deny. And now, they are ready to show you. Ready to prove it. Ready to step forward instead of staying hidden behind fear. The waiting chapter is closing. The silence chapter is ending. The wondering chapter is fading.